The Florida Gators had one hell of a Thursday, including 2 commitments and scheduling another visit in the transfer portal. We're going to talk about all that here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And sometimes, like yesterday, Thursday, May 2nd, we're available 3 times in a day if there's 2 commitments. That's how things work. But we got to talk more about Monopoly Go, this fast-paced game. It lets you team up with your friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis to taunt your friends. So download Monopoly Go now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. We're going to start by talking about Jason Zandamela because yesterday, again, was a big day for the Florida Gators. You added a high school commitment for the 2025 class, which we will talk about later in Jeramiah McCloud. You added a transfer portal commitment in Jason Zandamela, the top offensive lineman or top interior offensive lineman available in the transfer portal, and a 2024 top 50 player coming out of high school. And they scheduled a visit with Elijhah Badger, the Arizona State receiver that we've been talking about so much about. Don't forget that today, Friday, May 3rd, we got 2 episodes for you because early or late morning, early afternoon, we're going to have Locked On Canes. We're going to talk about Florida versus Miami and get into that. But starting with Jason Zandamela, I want to just talk about this one because I feel like a lot of people on Twitter and in the comments section and whatever, we're just like, Jason Zandamela committed to Florida. Instantly, like let him compete for a starting spot. And realistically, that's just not how things work. This is not how things go. He's still a 2024 true freshman offensive lineman. And you know the rule here with Locked On Gators. The rule is that we never in our lives want to see a true freshman starting on offense. Or not even that we don't want to see it. I never in my life, in my fandom, want to go through a period of time where I go, yeah, this true freshman, I'm expecting him to be a starter this year. That's not a good spot to be in because that shouldn't be a thing. You should go through the full year of strength and conditioning. Like Najee Harris rotated in last year as a guard, played pretty well, and I'm happy with that. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic for a true freshman to make that kind of impact. Love it. Like as a rotational player, that's awesome. I don't want to see you as a starter. I don't want to be in a position where we have to have that expectation. And I was like, I don't think Florida has that expectation. Jason Zandamela is someone that plays center. I think can play guard, but I think will remain at center. Okay? And that alone does impact the Florida Gators for 2024 indirectly. Because right now, your depth chart at center is Jake Slaughter starting, Rod Kearney as your second string. Jason Zandamela can come in, be your second string center, not because he's better than Rod Kearney, but because that means Rod Kearney can move to guard and play one of those spots. I can't confirm that's what the coaching staff is going to do, but I have to think that that's what they should do. Or not even I have to think. I'm telling you now, the better choice, the better decision is to move Rod Kearney to guard, allow him to, through fall ball, allow him to compete for the starting spot at right guard or left guard. Honestly, I don't care. I'm not tied to who's starting. Allow him to compete for a starting spot at guard. That's it. Allow Jason Zandamela to be your backup center. If Jake Slaughter were to, knock on wood, get banged up, and you don't want to throw in Jason Zandamela yet, you still have Rod Kearney who knows how to play center and has been playing center for over a year now with the Florida Gators. So you still have that as an option. But if you can have Rod Kearney starting, like you want to put your best 5 offensive linemen on the field at all times. And I don't know about you, but me personally, I am not tied to any single individual starting. Najee Harris had a great year for a true freshman in the SEC last year. But if the coaching staff goes through this spring or this summer and goes into the fall with our best guards are Damian George and Rod Kearney, then so be it. They should be your starters. Our best guards are Rod Kearney and Najee Harris, then so be it. Those should be your starters. I'm not tied to, Najee Harris was good last year. We're scared of him hitting the portal. Start him. I'll tell you, I'm not. I know that there's a lot of people who do that with like the running back conversation of like, well, if you give Jaden Ball and Katie Daniels a bunch of carries, then Trayon Webb might hit the portal. So be it. I don't care. I'm at the point where I'm like, you got to win football games. You play the best players. If people hit the portal, that's fine. Because guess what? You played Trevor Etienne. You played Princely Umanmielen. You played Chris McLellan. And they all hit the transfer portal. You started Scooby Williams the entire season. He hit the transfer portal. Manny Nunnery was one of your starters. He hit the transfer portal. I'm not tied to, give them playing time to keep them, because we've seen plenty of guys get playing time and leave. Play your best guards, okay? Jake Slaughter's your best center. We know that. Every other spot, both tackle spots, I don't care how you want to flip the rotation, who you want to have at what spots. Guard, I don't care how you want to flip the rotation, who you want to have at which spots. I don't give a damn. The Florida Gators in 2024 need to win football games. Put your best players on the field. I mean, I'm not saying Rod Kearney is definitively the best guard. We haven't seen him play meaningful snaps at all. But having Jason Zandamela come in as the top interior lineman in the transfer portal, and I believe the top in the country for 2024, bringing him in, that's huge for your just recruiting class, and that's huge for your offensive line. Like you get to do that, and you have now that luxury of having a player that you didn't have before, that was according to the 24/7 transfer portal, number 1 interior offensive lineman, number 7 player overall. According to 24/7, when he was coming out as a recruit, he was the number 46 player nationally, first interior offensive lineman. You have that now at center. Last year, when Kingsley Ogwuakun was hurt, you had Jake Slaughter starting. You had a true freshman as your backup center. You could do that again this year, because Rod Kearney was your backup center last year when Jake Slaughter was there and Kingsley Ogwuakun was hurt. So you can have Jake Slaughter as your starter again, Jason Zandamela as your backup, move Rod Kearney to guard. And even if he doesn't start this year, he'll have a year of practicing at guard. Jason Zandamela will have a year of practicing at center for Florida. And your interior offensive linemen for 2025, 2026 are set. So Jason Zandamela allows you to do that. Just saying, like, I think that's the best way to go about it. And I think that, again, Jason Zandamela doesn't make an impact on the field this year directly, but his presence allows you to move some pieces around and get better on the offensive line. It's a great addition. I love it. I do. This does get the Gators to the 85 scholarship limit, which leads us to our next part, talking about Elijhah Badger. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but first, a quick word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts. For your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your parts guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. For the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And don't forget that eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And we will be available again today. And don't forget also, if you're not part of the subtext group, we're doing 2 evaluations a day from the spring game of players. Yesterday we had Gregory Smith and TJ Searcy. The other day we had Trey Wilson. We've had DJ Lagway, Damian George. We've gone through a lot of the roster. We're going to continue to go through it until we finish our list of players we're going to watch. So if you want a player or you want to review something that we've done already, join subtext.com/LockedOnGators. Links in the description below as well. But the Florida Gators, it came out yesterday afternoon, evening-ish, that the Florida Gators were bringing in Elijhah Badger for a visit. And Elijhah Badger is, of course, the Arizona State wide receiver that we've talked about on this show for a couple weeks now. I mean, Twitter's been talking about him for a while now, too. The thing is that Florida is now at the 85 scholarship limit with Jason Zandamela joining. Because you were at 86, Riley Simons joined the coaching staff, Ethan Pouncey hit the transfer portal. That brought you to 84. And I thought, I have no problem saying this. I said this to the subtext group as well the other day. I was like, I know there's a mutual interest between Florida and Elijhah Badger. That's something that we've been talking about for a while. And again, subtext group knew it for a while. And my theory was that Florida had one scholarship spot available, and they were trying to get Elijhah Badger. And if they couldn't get Elijhah Badger, they were going to get Jason Zandamela, and that they had him on the back burner. And that's why Jason Zandamela's decision took so long. Then on Thursday, Jason Zandamela commits to Florida. And then it turns out that Elijhah Badger is scheduling a visit with the Florida Gators. You would have to dump someone from the roster to take him. There are players that could and should have been dropped and can still be dropped. You got graduation this week. Decent chance that you can get at least someone off the roster. And I think that Florida would do that or will do that if they can bring in Elijhah Badger. And I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you go, hey, man, we're just going to pull your scholarship. You can be a walk-on this year if you want, or you get in the portal. I don't know if they're going to go, hey, Elijhah, we'll just give you more NIL to cover it, and you'll come in as a walk-on and not be a scholarship player. I don't know if that's how you're going to do it, but Elijhah Badger is visiting Florida and Arizona. Florida should have the leg up here. You've got the connection of Arizona State with Billy Napier, who was the offensive coordinator there. Billy Napier has gotten, I believe, 2 Arizona State receivers drafted now, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 3, depending on how things lined up. If I'm not mistaken, Billy Napier should have coached Brandon Ayuk, Frank Darby, and now Ricky Pearsall, all who went to Arizona State, because Billy Napier was there in 2017 at Arizona State. I'm looking this up right now because I completely forgot Frank Darby existed. Brandon Ayuk was there through 2020. He got there 2016. So Billy Napier coached Brandon Ayuk. And I'm not giving him credit for getting there, but that's a selling point, right? You get to go, hey, these Arizona State receivers that went to the NFL, I played a part in that. And yeah, Frank Darby, if I'm not mistaken, was part of the 2016 recruiting class. And so, yeah, Frank Darby, there's 3 players that all went to the Arizona State University. Bob Billy Napier was there, 2 players. And then 1 came from Arizona State to Florida to be coached by Billy Napier and got to the NFL. He's gotten 3 Arizona State receivers to the NFL at different points in his career. That's the selling point. I understand that's not really how it worked, but that's the selling point that you give. And that, I mean, it's hard to dispute that, because you can't deny it. He coached Frank Darby, he coached Brandon Ayuk, and he coached Ricky Pearsall, and they all went to the NFL. Ricky Pearsall is just the one that he was the final coach for there. So Elijhah Badger, I think you have that little Arizona State connection, not just that, hey, we've coached Arizona State receivers before. We've had an Arizona State receiver transfer to Florida and go be a first-round pick out of the University of Florida. Not just, hey, I was the offensive coordinator at Arizona State University before, and now I'm at Florida. Not just that. You've got a great fit here as well, because Elijhah Badger is someone who primarily played on the outside and in Gainesville would play primarily on the outside. Capable of lining up in the slot, and obviously, you'll see it every now and then. I mean, we saw Justin Shorter play in the slot. You'll see everybody play in the slot at some point under Billy Napier. That's just how people line up and how things go. And it's also, you motion someone, like you have a receiver by himself on one side, you have that little jet motion going to that side, and then he's technically in the slot when they go all the way out wide. Things like that. But I think that Elijhah Badger is someone that fits the offense really well. He's primarily an outside receiver that can play in the slot. That's a big like that in itself is you're like you fit the mold that they need there. You can play out, and you can play in, or you play in and you can play out. Billy Napier doesn't really like guys that can only play one spot. So with Elijhah Badger, you play out, you can play in, but also you play out. And Elijhah Badger at Arizona State ran a lot of in-breaking routes. Shallow crossers, digs, slants. He ran a lot of in-breakers. Okay? And you know what Billy Napier loves to run, aside from hitches? In-breakers. The digs, the 10 to 12-yard digs that we've seen. The little cross that we've seen that Ricky Pearsall that he ran so beautifully. We saw Taylor Spirito make a nice catch on a shallow cross or two during the spring game. You got those in-breaker routes. Elijhah Badger found a lot of success running them. Billy Napier needs someone that can run them. Could do Trey Wilson, sure, but also it would be nice to have another person that can do it, right? You look at someone that has yard after catch ability, run after catch ability, whatever you want to call it, and Elijhah Badger has exactly that. I'll pull up his specific stats just to show that I'm not just saying things, that I'm actually talking about someone that has found success doing that, because again, I mean, a lot of these guys are just in the transfer portal, specifically a receiver. They're very mid. Elijhah Badger is the best one because he's a good one. He's not just the best one because there's a bunch of mid guys there. But Elijhah Badger averages 11 yards per catch, with 8.5 of those coming after the catch. Pretty good. I don't know if you know that, but that's pretty good. Worked a lot of underneath again because Arizona State's quarterback situation last year was just bad. I mean, they were on to QB like 4 by the end of the year. It was just constant injuries and just a really rough situation. But Elijhah Badger made the most of a bad opportunity, and obviously he's looking to shine a little bit before he goes to the NFL. And again, there's mutual interest there. Now the downside of it, Elijhah Badger had a back injury, and the rumor is worse than initially expected. So I think that's why there was such little noise around it. And it's even like we talked about it on the show. We talked about it in the subtext group. I think it was Dave Waters said it on Twitter, but it's like, why is there such little noise around Elijhah Badger? And I even texted someone inside the program, and I was like, why is there like no noise around him? There's a back injury, and I think that's really what it is. That's worse than people expected. But I think that the reason that there was such little noise before that was that, and now he's visiting Florida and Arizona. My expectation is that when he visits Florida, they're going to check his medicals. Hopefully they already checked his transcripts, but they're going to check his medicals. And if his medicals check out enough for them to be comfortable, they will take him and figure out the roster construction at another time. If that means taking him and cutting a receiver at some point, or parting ways with the receiver, whatever you want to call it, so be it. But my expectation, like my belief, has to be you take Elijhah Badger in, you do the medicals, and if the medicals check out, you take him if he wants to go Florida Gator. Like you just do it. And then that again raises your expectations, like we talked about in yesterday morning's show. They raise your expectations for the 2024 season. We are about to talk about someone that makes no impact on the 2024 season, but can in the 2025 season. But first, a quick word from Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk about Monopoly Go, which I know. You did it yesterday in your bonus shows. You did it today at the beginning of the show. Get over it. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. And the more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get, including unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. You can find cool new pieces to travel the boards with. Again, like you can go to New York, or you start in New York. You can go to New Orleans. You can go to Camelot. You can go to the moon. You can go virtually anywhere. It's kind of freaking nuts, okay? Just saying, it's kind of nuts. There's always new timed events that help you win big. You can get massive multipliers for everything you win, or rent frenzies. And there's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or on the App Store. Game on. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. The only daily and free podcast covering the Florida Gators athletics. We got football. We cover a little bit of baseball, which we're going to get more into very shortly here. But Florida landed a commitment for the 2025 class yesterday. Jeramiah McCloud, defensive end, defensive tackle. He's a bit of a hybrid there. And by that, I mean, he lists himself as a hybrid. Like, he's like, yeah, that's what I do. And that's fine. I will say I watched some of his film yesterday at like a 6.5, 7 minute clip on Huddle. And I like it. I'm not going to lie. I like it. Listed as 6'3", 280 pounds. I know his like commitment graphics said like 6'3", 300 or something like that. Even if he is that, I think long-term he will be not stuck, but like long-term he will play the F or the 3 tech, which the F is that strong side defensive end that Tyreek Sapp and Justice Boone play, or the 3 tech is with Caleb Banks, Joey Slackman, and Kelby Collins will play. And he kind of fits the Florida Gators mold of recruiting defensive linemen, because something that they do so frequently, and it's not a bad thing at all, it's actually a really good thing, is that except for nose tackle, they recruit guys who can play multiple spots on the defensive line. Okay, except for nose tackle. You look at nose tackle, you got Cam Jackson, Des Watson, Makai Boyro are only playing nose tackle. You also have guys who can play 3 tech and nose tackle, like Caleb Banks does that. I believe Joey Slackman can do that. You look at Jamari Lyons can do that. So, and Chris McLoud did it last year. So you have guys that can play 3 tech and nose tackle, but guys who are primarily nose tackles tend to stay just nose tackle. And then you also have guys who play 3 tech and F, like we've seen Tyreek Sapp do. Like I think Joey Slackman will do this year more likely than he'll play nose. You can see Kelby Collins do that. You have guys who play F and Jack, both of the end spots, or one stand-up linebacker. And I mean, if you watch the spring game, we saw LJ McCray and TJ Searcy were on the field at the same time. One hand up, one hand in the dirt, lined up everywhere. It was fun to see. Something that you have to do on the defensive line is be able to play multiple spots. You need to have some positional or alignment versatility. Jeramiah McCloud has that, and you could see him do that in his high school film. In his high school film, he's playing defensive end, he's playing 3 tech, and he's playing nose tackle. Okay, so you see that in his high school film that he's lining up everywhere. So that's not something that I think will change. I think it's something that we continue to see. And I realize I keep saying 3 tech. 3 tech is that you're lined up on the outside shoulder of the guards. Okay, just that's all it is. If you're lined up on the right shoulder of the right guard, you're a 3 tech there. If you're lined up on the left shoulder of the left guard, you're a 3 tech there. That's all that means. It's nothing super complex. It's just your alignment and what it is. And Jeramiah McCloud lines up everywhere. And I do think that at the college level, he will play mostly the 3 tech and the F, which plays more on the shoulder of the tackle or even head up with the tackle there. But Jeramiah McCloud, like I get it. He's a 3-star. A lot of people aren't going to be super stoked about a 3-star. But you look at his offer sheet, not a 3-star offer sheet. And this is one of those times where we talked about it with Brian Smith plenty, where we go, yeah, he's listed as a 3-star. But the people who get paid millions of dollars to do this, the people who get paid millions of dollars to recruit, the people who get paid millions of dollars to coach and evaluate, those guys, they think highly of him. You look at his offer list, it's LSU. It's Mississippi State. He used to be a Mississippi State commit, so it's Mississippi State. It's Arkansas. It's Auburn. It's Georgia. It's Tennessee. Those are just the SEC schools. And you got USC. You got Miami. You got Maryland. Louisville always knows how to recruit and develop defensive linemen. You got Illinois, who just had Johnny Newton, get drafted very high. You got Florida State. Colorado recruits everybody, and they're a joke of a program anyway, and they should be embarrassed of themselves just for existing the way they exist. But you got all those guys, all those schools recruiting Jeramiah McCloud. I don't think that sounds like a 3-star offer sheet. All right. I don't think that's crazy to say. And so, yeah, I think that he is one of those players that's better than his recruiting ranking. And I'm not just saying that 'cause he's a Florida Gator. Even when we talk about guys that we don't think Florida will get, we look at their offer list. We go, yeah, that's not 3-star. Like that's obviously going to be more sought after. Maybe he raises there, but honestly, I don't care. The people who get paid millions think he's a pretty good player. Jeramiah McCloud right now, you could see if you watch his huddle tape, he wins with his first step a lot. Like he wins in 2 ways. He had 12 sacks last year. He wins in 2 ways. He wins with his first step, or he wins with just continued relentless pursuit. There was one play, it's relatively early in his film, where he rushes through, quarterback starts running around, and he's just chasing the quarterback the whole time and finally grabs him and like spins him down to the ground. And then there's the next play, maybe he just runs right in between the guard and the tackle. Like he just beats them onto the inside and gets a clean shot at the QB. And when you have those kind of skill sets, those kind of traits, like motor, you need, and that quick first step automatically means that you have promise as a pass rusher. You have those two things, and coaches are going to go, okay, you can't really teach those things. Like you can't teach motivation. You can't teach that. You can't teach having that quick first step. It's just like you could improve it, but you can't teach someone to just have a good quick first step. So you can't really teach those things. And they've pretty much just recruited guys that have those traits, and they went, all right, we will do the rest of the work. And so I don't know if he plays early at all. I'm very curious to see how the strength and conditioning program goes for him, because I'd imagine you lose some weight at the beginning, or you bulk up at the beginning, and then by the end of spring ball, you lose some weight. And we kind of just see how that goes when you're sweating and practicing consistently like that. But I think long term, he's best suited to play the F or the F and the 3 tech. I'd imagine he's more of a 3 tech that can bounce out to F. But also, like, again, you need to be able to line up in versatile ways. You need to be alignment versatile and positionally versatile. And Jeramiah McCloud brings that to the table. Even if he doesn't work out great, he'll be depth at multiple spots, and I'll take that 10 times out of 10. Simple as that. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. Don't forget, if you want to join the subtext group, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnGators. The link is in the description. The link is in the podcast or YouTube description if you want to go there. It's 2 weeks free, $5 a month after that. We got 2 spring game evaluations coming out per day. Don't forget that later today, again, late morning, early afternoon, we will have another episode coming out, this time with Alex Dono of Locked On Canes, where we're going to talk about the Florida and Miami Hurricanes game on August 31st. Again, I mean, they have like 12 people on their roster, so it's going to be as in-depth as we can go, but, you know, they've got a brand new roster in the spring portal, totally what good football teams do. And so there's that. But then again, we will be back on Monday unless there's big news this weekend. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Giants Country and NFL 33, and I'll see you all next time.